move forward with that purchase, to be able to lock in that order before we lose that vehicle and the option to buy it ahead of our next regular monthly meeting. So that's why we're here tonight. With that, I will turn it over to the manager.
Thank you very much, Mayor and board members, for coming together this evening. Our staff has put together this information, as you described, to do a budget amendment and authorize the manager to execute the purchase agreement for a additional vehicle for our police department. We have had some significant maintenance issues with some of our newer vehicles in our fleet, and we are have been pursuing other options, and so this is one of those things that will help us go down the path of making sure we have all of our officers in vehicles that are functioning, and we have a plan to continue that process to because currently we have several older vehicles that are either better suited for either being spares or being surplus that we have in full-time service. In our budget this fiscal year, we were able to fund essentially one vehicle, but we had savings with the vehicle we purchased, and that combined with some identified savings elsewhere in the budget and appropriating some of the contingency that was set aside in this year's budget will make this purchase possible. So with that, I'd like to ask Chief Fowle to come forward and share a little more information about the vehicle and where we're headed, and then if you have any questions about the budget amendment, Heather Can is here to talk with you about that.
Good, Mr. Mayor, members of the board.
Good evening, sir.
I came prepared for questions because you may have more questions, but I'll give you a little bit of, just to kind of give you, I guess, an overall view of what we're dealing with currently. So when we made this past year's vehicle purchases, we did not surplus the ones we anticipated surplus, and which was we're very thankful for that, because now we've had to bring them back in service, unfortunately. So currently, I have two Crown Vics that are broke down. They are a 2006 and 2011. We're holding on to those because worst case scenario, if we do not move forward with this purchase tonight, we're going to have to start trying to move parts over from the 06 to make the 2011 functional again and put it back in full-time service. I've already had to bring back into service our two spares, which were 2018s. Those were the ones that were actually slated to be moved to the back line. So those are both back in full-time service. We're currently working on one of them in the back parking lot right now, getting prepared for new decals. So we put a bunch of our own blood, sweat, and tears into these vehicles. We've kind of been turning some of our own wrenches on them to get them back up and going quicker. You know, and this is kind of a growing pain, Brian. We never, 5 years ago, you never heard of the police department being full staff. So we're very thankful that we're full staff. We're bringing on our final person on February 17th. That's the individual we currently don't have a vehicle for at all. The purchase of this F-150 will allow me to move some vehicles around and have a new vehicle, or not a new vehicle, but have a newer vehicle for the officer that's coming on the 17th. Currently, we're hot seating a few vehicles. So if you're not familiar with what that is, we're running more than one officer in a car. Not necessarily an ideal situation, because obviously you're running the car every day. It's not getting a break. So that brings about other issues, and obviously it's doubling the mileage that's being put on that vehicle right now, which is going to mile it out much quicker. So currently I've got one officer that is driving the 2002 Durango, which was slated for retirement a number of years ago, and we just had a feeling, so we held on to it. It's back in service. He's driving. He's not driving on patrol. He drives it home. He comes in. He takes the car that somebody else is getting out of, drives it while he's here, swaps it into the shift, drives the old one back home, because it's not capable of actually being serviced, obviously, due to the age of the vehicle. I also have an officer that has the old white coach truck at home right now. So he's driving it to Statesville, where he lives. He's coming back in the white coach truck. He's getting in his vehicle, which I had another officer have to work out of today. So got a little bit of issues with these vehicles, and we knew this was going to catch us at some point in time. We do have a very good fleet replacement plan, so we kind of know what to anticipate. The problem is we get a kind of year or two where we can think about it, and then it gets much worse, just based on the mileage of the vehicle. So we know currently that we had intended on requesting more this budget year, but the budget couldn't support more vehicle requests, so we did the one. kind of explain to you how we have a little bit of money left over, and just in case citizens ask, we made the purchase of the Ford Mustang. Saved $10,000 on that purchase, which has helped this fund the other portion of this budget amendment for the F-150. So we saved about $10,000, $11,000 on the purchase of the car. We saved about $4,000 or $5,000 in the upfit of the car, just because it's a smaller vehicle. So we had some significant savings this year over what we anticipated if we would have purchased a Durango like what we've been purchasing. Looking at our fleet replacement plan, we know that we will need a minimum of 2 vehicles in this coming functional year 25. It would be better 3, but we know we're going to need a minimum of 2 because we know July of 26 we will have to have 5. So we're trying to find a way to get ahead of that game, and that's just the nature of having officers that we're full staff and they're working and the cars aren't sitting. So we're in the past, the positions have been open and the cars have set, they haven't accrued mileage. Now they're getting driven every day. So the mileage is accruing on them, and obviously we're trying to avoid going back to where we're putting so much money into them outweighs what the vehicle is worth. So looking at our bad years, we know 26 and 28 are going to be bad years. Both of those years, fleet plan says you have to buy 5, 26 and 28. So we're hoping that between 25 and 27, we're able to make some adjustments to slow that down. Purchase more one year to help not have to have so many the following. So this truck helps us actually get ahead, and since we're financially able this year, that was our hope that you would consider making that purchase now. The other thing to add to that is, obviously, this vehicle was ordered. It was placed order at the dealership back in March. It just now came in after New Year's. So you kind of see what the turnaround is on vehicles. So when we're ordering vehicles on July 1st, typically we know that we're not going to see them. You place an order in July, you're not going to see it until March or April of the following year. So we kind of have to forecast that, knowing that even if we make the purchase at the beginning of our fiscal budget, we're really not getting it till now. And then you've got another 2 months to get it upfitted and need the parts in for the upfit. So there's a lot of different pieces that play into this, but I think we've got a good plan here, and I'll certainly try to answer any questions you have. I may have to reference my notes here, looking at all the mileage and vehicle fleet numbers, if you have specific questions about the cars.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Board, I know there have been a few questions already, some clarifying information provided by the manager. What questions do you have in addition this evening?
And just more for the folks following along at home and for posterity, this is really about the more recent Durangos just not being up to snuff. I mean, I just call it what it is. I mean,
literally, that has put us in the worst position that we've been in.
Okay.
Now, some of it is because initially we really needed 2 this budget year anyway, so we were in a little bit of a deficit. But when we combine that with the problem the Durangos that are giving us, we've got one that's still in the shop to this day. Been in the shop since last board meeting. Been in the shop the board meeting before that. And we're still having those issues, and likely that's going to be one that we just need to surplus. It's not, it hasn't happened but once is too many, that I had to have an officer run 3 blocks, come in the building. Fortunately, he was close, come in the building and get spare keys to go answer a call. It wasn't an emergency call that would have, necessitated an emergency response, but if it would have been, it would have put us in a really bad spot. So we're definitely trying to avoid that. So I think, our best judgment is we're going to transition away from Dodge at this point. Who would have known? There's been organizations or agencies that have very good luck with them. We obviously have had a really bad run, and we've got one for numerous years. So they're all clustered together.
And we do have the Ram pickups that seem to be doing
right.
fine.
The Ram trucks have done fine.
It's these particular Durango models that have. One in particular has just been a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I think you addressed that. Are we just going to go ahead and just throw the talent on those and just replace them? I mean,
I think we're going to try to roll them out. We're very fortunate. We've got our own mechanics, so we haven't spent as much money as we could have because Joel's been turning wrenches for us. And there again, we've turned some wrenches ourselves in the back parking lot. Not necessarily the best idea, but we all grew up working on cars, so we don't mind changing sensors and doing a few things kind of abnormal, but it works. So we've done that to try to. We never could have funded paying the dealerships for this repair work. It'd be astronomical number, but it's been a lot of fuel-related issues with these vehicles, electronic-related issues, and We've got a few, I really shouldn't say it, knock on wood. We've got a few that have not cost us a lot, but they are all having very similar problems. And there's other agencies that are having the same issues too, and they've already brought it before Stellantis, and they kind of got the cold shoulder about it. So, you know, the answer is your warranty's out, and that's unfortunate. So,
Shame on you, Stellantis.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, definitely. And there again, the Rams are Stellantis, and they've been great.
Yeah.
So, it really doesn't make any sense because they have the same motor in the Durango does, and they perform great. So we were very fortunate on the ones of those that we do have. So we've had no issues with them at all.
I know you stated before, Chief, about the Durangos just having an issue overall, even with the other agencies' fleet. But we're planning to get rid of all of those that are having issues, even the one that's in the shop?
Yeah, not currently. I believe the one that's in the shop, when it comes back, I think our intent is probably to go ahead and surplus it.
Okay.
You know, and it really is it's a roll of the dice. We could put it back in service and it might be fine, but that vehicle spent more than 12 months in the shop, and it's a significant enough concern for me on the emergency side that I don't feel like we can rely on it any longer.
Too much of a liability. Now, what about and I know different agencies use the Chevrolet Tahoes, and I know the numbers are a little different on those, but the life expectancy and performance on those are a little bit more, attainable.
Yeah, and I'm pretty familiar with them. I actually had one of those years ago whenever I worked for the Sheriff's Office. I was assigned to Tahoe. They are very good vehicles. So I did go ahead and reach out to a few agencies. They are having little to no maintenance issues on the Tahoe. So we've actually reached out to the dealer, the fleet dealer up in Raleigh. We're going, myself and Lieutenant Leonard will make a trip up there and at least look at them. They're not as much. It's not astronomical as what everybody thinks. It depends on what contract you buy off of. You know, historically we purchase off the sheriff's procurement contract. It normally has the better pricing. I was telling Peter the other day, I actually looked, and this year the state contract was about $2,000 better than the sheriff's contract.
Oh wow!
So it's not. Now we're talking about being $4,000 or $5,000 higher instead of nearly 10. So it's definitely something that we're considering for this coming budget. At least trying one out and seeing how we're able to, how it functions for us. I think it's going to be pretty good though. We're wanting to go up there and drive them and take a look at it.
I think that would probably be a better fit for us, and even as far as the residents concerned in reference to us having to continue to turn over vehicles, which, it's going to have to be done within time. But I think that we will get more life expectancy out of those particular vehicles, and it'll have the room that's necessary needed for your equipment and everything.
Right. Yeah, it looks like monetarily it breaks even basically. Absolutely. But it looks like based upon the numbers we've already looked at, you can run a Tahoe for about one extra year, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it is. It helps break up some of these purchases. So if we can run it for an extra year, it really negates that initial $4,000 or $5,000 when you're buying it off the contract price. And then if the models stay the same, we've been very good as far as moving equipment. Most agencies don't move equipment. If we can move what's in there and it's still functional, we don't just go buy new because we want to.
Of course.
So some of our upfit cost on these vehicles is a little bit lower. With retiring this one Durango early, the one that's been giving us issues, we're going to pull the equipment out of that. So that will actually soften one of the vehicle purchases made in July. It'll soften that because we'll be able to use the equipment out. Not all of it, about 75% of it we'll be able to move over.
Now also to those particular vehicles, the Tahoes we'll be talking about, I know some of the agencies, they're not using like brand new ones, and they seem to still have some durability with them. So I don't know, like the ones that you've checked into, if they're new or if they were like newer, you know what I'm saying, within the last 5 years or. They seem to have been pretty durable over time.
Yeah, typically we look at only at new vehicles with certain exceptions. We made that purchase from Rockwell a while back on a vehicle that had been their chief's car, and it's done very well for us. Historically, we try not to do that just because of the idle hours. You can find vehicles and save $10,000 on them or so on the upfront purchase. A lot of them are retired fed vehicles, but the idle hours is what gets you. They've set up here. There's actually a lot of Tahoes that go through the Park Service. I think around DC and all the individual organizations up there that run those SUVs. But the idle hours are so high. I actually looked at one the other day, it had over 10,000 idle hours on it. So you're getting a vehicle that looks brand new, but the motor sat there and ran. It would almost negate the savings, I believe, on that, especially with the state contract being where it is this time. You know, we're anticipating, last time we talked, we were thinking it was going to be in the mid-50s. We looked, and it's going to be more around 47 and a half. So way better on the new contract that was just released than what we're anticipating. So puts it just a few thousand over what the forward price is.
Well, and if you're getting an extra year out of it and breaking even, you're actually coming out ahead because you have less hassle and headache dealing with them. And
definitely. And kind of add to that, the resale value is a little bit higher on the Tahoe. So on the back end, we'll get a little bit more, which, you know, we may not see that. We obviously won't see that for a few years, but we'll see it on the back ends.
The link that you gave us, I went to the link and looked. The car, it was listed there for like 54,000 or something. Is that the 46 or 47 that we're talking about here? Is that?
It was showing that as a retail price.
Is that okay?
Yeah, we get pretty significant
That's
savings
not the
on the
contract.
vehicles. They're
Okay.
marked down pretty good. You know, the one, the white one that we purchased this last budget year, it was nearly 60,000, I believe, on the window sticker. So we get pretty significant savings on them. And that's kind of across the board. And I'll tell you, they did a bunch of adjustments this year. So some went up and some went down.
Yeah.
The Ram pickups we were buying, we used to buy those for $32,000. They're about $10,000 higher than that now. So there's been significant movement in the market.
It looks like you have about $7,000 left in your maintenance budget. Is that going to cover you for the rest of the year?
I don't think so, unfortunately. Actually, I've actually talked to Heather about that already. I anticipate we're probably going to have some shortages there. I don't think it's going to be significant shortages. I don't think. If we, obviously with the purchase of the F-150, that's going to soften it, because it's going to put me a new vehicle in that we're not going to have to mess with as far as maintenance. Kind of the intent is, if we purchase the F-150, we're not going to spend the money currently to fix the 2011. That's noted. I think Peter made notes of that in his response. We're actually going to hold off on that and not spend the money to fix it currently, with the hope that then, provided we're allotted vehicles in July, we just won't fix those cars. And they're not, I mean, they're drivable, but they're not service ready. They need some pretty significant repairs to actually go put them back in full-time service.
So I was going to ask, what was the price going to be for each one to be put back into service? What would the price be for that?
I honestly don't know. It needs a whole rear input in it. So some of that's going to be whenever we tear into it. Like I said, you can drive it currently, and that's one that we moved back into service for about 6 months, kind of when we started having these problems, and then it started giving us problems. So we went on and pulled it while it was still driving. I mean, it's drivable. You get into it and drive to Salisbury now, but the rear end's grinding, so we know that there's an issue there. We haven't actually priced it out yet. We're kind of hoping not to have to put that money into that old of a vehicle, knowing that the intent would be to surplus it this coming budget year. So.
Okay.
Well, and from some of the things I've heard on the news with tariffs from Mexico and Canada, a lot of the parts for vehicles are being imported. So we may be looking at a lot higher prices for vehicles moving forward.
Right.
So.
Any other questions, board? Okay. If there are none, we'll entertain a motion for approval of ordinance 24-10.009.
I'll make a motion to approve budget ordinance 24-10.009. Peter, do you need me to read this whole thing?
No.
For the part where you come in? Okay,
All right, there's a motion by Ms. Moody. Clarification, Ms. Moody, you want to also amend that motion to authorize the manager?
See, this is what I was wondering. Yes, and to to authorize the town manager to negotiate and execute a purchase agreement with Performance Ford Deacon Jones Auto Group using state purchasing contract 20210002.
Good job.
Second.
All right, there is a motion by Ms. Moody. There's a second by Mr. Muhammad. Any further discussion on the matter? Hearing none. All in favor? All right. All opposed? And that's approved unanimously. Thank you all very much. Chief, Peter, thank you. Heather, thanks for y'all working to find a way to make this happen within our current budget. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much. And I wanted to also, if I could, I just want to thank those of you who were able to attend on Friday night. We had a outstanding I believe it is probably the busiest I've ever seen this room.
Quite literally,
number
I
of-
think it was outstanding. I think the
Well,
standing
there
room was in
was
the
standing
hallway.
room only, so we were
Yeah.
definitely excited about that. Good write-up in the Salisbury Post.
It was
Yeah.
great.
Excellent.
Great write-up.
Thank each of you that were able to attend.
Yeah.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right, board, we have reached the end of our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Muhammad. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem. All in favor? All right, all opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.